Welcome to episode 4 of Obsessed and Unimpressed, a show
Got
with
all close to
me,
the mic now.
Boston. Well, we're ASM, no,
Mm-hmm.
ASMR.
Yes.
So, my name is Boston. This is Josh,
Hello.
and we are lifelong friends. And we are going to
For
be
life.
reviewing all kinds of movies. Best for life, baby, for
For
life.
life.
But for life. But we are going to be reviewing movies for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie, I guess I'll do it one more time. I'll do kind of the concept. But
Yes.
um, a little while ago, me and Josh got together and I decided to take upon myself to kind of introduce him to movies that I love. And so we compiled this huge list. It's probably 80 movies at this point. We're going to add more at some point.
Gotta be
I
more.
keep adding them.
Gotta be more.
As they come up, I
He
keep
texts
adding.
me like once a
There's
week
got to be more.
asking if I've seen a movie.
It's like, have you seen this? And like, I'm serious. I want to get this like going.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a huge list, and Josh gets to pick any one movie he wants for the week, and then he gets to watch it, and then we review it here in front of you guys. So the movie that he decided to choose for this week's episode is Citizen Kane, Orson Welles' Citizen Kane from 1941. Um, the director of this is Orson Welles, one of the most well-known directors of all time. Despite really only making a few well-known films like The Third Man, Touch of Evil, and The Trial, which are all great films, but none of them compare to his magnum opus that is Citizen Kane. It is, of course, starring Orson Welles as the signature Mr. Kane, along with Joseph Cottery and Dorothy Cummingore, and they all are amazing in this film. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important films ever made. One of the pillars of modern cinema. A lot of modern things you can trace back to this movie specifically. Most movies made after this are incredibly similar to how this movie was filmed, and it, um, to not undermine at all, changed cinema in a lot of ways. And that is the movie that Josh has chosen this week. So, Josh, what did you think about Orson Welles' Citizen Kane?
Well, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Not bad.
It's
It's
not
not
bad.
bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Um.
So I expected that before you went. I kind of expected that.
Okay.
Um, I think I told him before this episode. I didn't think he would like it. It's a movie that has to age through the lens of you have to watch it in the time period that it came out of. So I think I told you that
You might
you
have.
have to watch it.
I didn't think
I
about
think
that when I was watching it,
it's a
but
movie.
maybe.
It's a movie that almost to enjoy it to its fullest extent, you have to imagine that there's never been a film like this before that has ever been
Really?
made. No,
Really?
no. If you can watch any movie before Orson Welles' or Citizen Kane, um,
Interesting.
and there's a lot. We'll go into it more why this film is so special and why
Okay.
it is such a pillar of cinema. But you could watch any film before 1941 when Citizen came out, and there is no other movie quite like it.
What
They're
in
similar.
what way?
Um,
Like the tone?
lensing. Um, one of the big things is the lenses that he used that are still used to this day. Back in the day,
Oh.
you used to only focus in on one part of the frame. It used to be one part, and then the other part was blurred. And Orson Welles came in and said, "What if we put the whole frame in focus?" I think it's wide angle lensing. I
Yeah,
think it's what's
yeah,
called
like wide angles. Yeah.
wide angle lenses. So that
I think
didn't was not a practice. That was not a practice before
that.
um,
Okay.
1941,
Okay.
before
Okay.
Citizen Kane, and that completely changed how movies were made when that happened.
Gotcha.
Um, and that's the thing that everyone points to. That's the thing that's going to be like it's going to be remembered for, is changing cinematography in cinema. Because this is funny enough, it's after silent films. a couple of decades after silent film, so directors had become less creative with visual storytelling and more onto just leaning on the dialogue.
Right.
And Orson Welles came in and said, "Let me show both equally.
Right.
Let me show both equally," which I think you can see very well in the film. Um, but uh, yeah, we'll get more into it later. But this is definitely one of the pillars that I look on as one of the best films ever made. But Josh, what did you think about it? You liked it, I, I think.
I
You think you enjoyed it,
I enjoyed it, but but but
but there's always a but,
there's
and
always a but.
I kind of have to brace for him now.
Not one of the best movies ever made.
Okay, okay.
I think the storytelling is really good. The
Mm-hmm.
the acting for its time, really good.
Really
Um
good.
the cinematography for its time, really good.
Really good.
The only thing that I have a gripe with, the thing that
Mm-hmm.
really takes me out of the whole movie is the revealance of Snowbud. Rosebud, sorry.
Rosebud.
The
That's okay.
that's
I'll let you keep going. But I love
so
to, I love to
the
rebuttal that.
reason why it took me out of it and where I had to say, wow, it made me just kind of second guess why I watched the movie a little bit.
That it's a sled. That it's a
Um,
sled.
yeah, like if the point is Rosebud is the sled, the first sled that he got
Mm-hmm.
when he moved away. It's not
Mm-hmm.
even the same sled that he first had. Not the same one. It's the different one. It's the different one that he got when he moved away with
Okay.
Luther or whatever his name
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I think it was
Um,
Luther.
when he moved away, it's the first sled that he got. If that is the point of the sentimentalness of Rosebud, then I get it. But
Okay. I can't wait to tell you why you're wrong.
okay, okay, I really do want to know. But here, let me tell you my
Yeah.
thought process before you rock my world here. Apparently,
I definitely want to hear it. Definitely want to hear
um, the whole movie
it.
talks about who Kane is,
Mm-hmm.
how he became to be,
Mm-hmm.
his love life, his business life, his political life,
Mm-hmm.
everything about him, but does not spend a single second explaining his sentimentalness to Rosebud. Does not spend a single second explaining,
Oh, I can't wait to. I cannot wait
showing
to explain this movie.
anything, nothing
I can't wait.
about this dumb sled.
Mm.
Doesn't spend a second because the whole point of the movie
Oh
is
my
if
god,
this reporter
I
going
can't
out
wait, dude. I'm so
talking to
excited.
people who lived with Kane, asking him why is his dying last words Rosebud
Yeah.
and why is it so significant? And it
Mm-hmm.
ends off with, well, we don't know. Move forward. Yeah, it just I don't like those kind of endings. Not a fan of those kind of endings. I respect it and I see it, but I'm like, well, what did I watch? So
All right.
if you would love to rock my world, I would love to
I
know.
would love to. I
Please
would
go
love to.
ahead.
So, um, firstly, it's story wise, having the story be told through the eyes of everyone but the main character.
Uh huh.
Um, Very risky for
They
the
did it perfectly in my eyes. Like they
news
really did it
reporter
well.
for the time that
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Like for the time that
made,
it was at,
outstanding.
it's a great
It's
job.
the fact that it still holds up as a story is nothing short of fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I think the point of it, with you trying to figure out what Rosebud is it's kind of a red herring for the first half of the film. of like you're trying to figure out what Rosemary what because that's what you think the movie's about, and that's not what it's about. The movie is about who is Kane and why is he a flawed individual. Why is he a flawed individual?
Okay.
You learn that at least in the first half, you love Kane. Like this guy rocks. He's for the people. He
Mm-hmm.
cares. And then the more you start revealing, the more you start understanding that this is not a good, like, perfect person.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more they chip away, the less perfect this idol seems to be, right? And this is all happening while you're trying to figure out what Rosebud means. Until at some point you stop wondering what Rosebud means and you just want to know who Kane really is. You stop that little like, oh, what's Rosebud? Instead you're like, yeah, but Kane, like what where did it all go wrong? Why is he like this? So that I think is genius to kind of subvert an audience expectations like that. And for the sled, for Rosebud, I'm gonna explain why it's so good and why it's been time and time again um, picked as such an important part of cinema history. Rosebud is not just a sled; it's more than a sled. When he says Rosebud, to you it's just a sled. It's just a sled that he grew up with. But really, it's the simplest way of him saying the last thing I remember is me being a kid with this sled. And if you go deeper, it's the last time he's truly happy. It's the last time he truly finds enjoyment in life is when he's with the sled outside, not having a care in the world. Before inheriting the fortune from his mother from the gold, before buying the newspaper, before having political aspirations, before any of that, the last time he was truly happy was with that sled in the snow. So on his deathbed, that's the last thing he wants to remember is a sled and what it means. And to us, I think it translates to um like no matter how old we get or like how much hard we try to stay connected, like the childhood's always going to go away. We're never going to get it back. We're never going to get a second chance at the sled. We're never going to get another rosebud. It's always going to stay with us. I think that's what's supposed to stick with Citizen Kane is it's supposed to like tell you, hey, like life is not anything like you wanted it to be as a kid. As a kid, it might be the best as a kid. Life might be the best thing in the world as a kid. But as you grow up, you start to realize that that kid part of you is the best part of you, and like that's the last thing you want to remember. And that's why I think Rosebud is so important, rather than it just being a dumb sled, right? Um, it's it means a lot, you know. And I might be getting a little bit too sentimental. I might be digging too deep on the meaning of Rosebud because it's been beaten to a pulp by people a lot smarter than me who know films a lot more than I do.
I mean,
Why Rosebud is so important.
I as
But
as
yeah,
the viewer knowing nothing,
mm,
think about it in my eyes, you know? It's like
right, right,
my eyes
and it makes
is
sense.
I'm
It makes
trying to
sense.
watch a movie to see if I like it or not. And I just can't give it to it.
Yeah,
Like I just can't.
and I didn't expect anything um, different. I'm not gonna lie. It's not a film that and this is my opinion. And this isn't like saying like oh you can enjoy it. It's like but it's like if you love film, it's like it's kind of like the Big Bang of modern cinema. Like you could point to everything from that film, and it's like everything you love about films, you could pretty much trace back to that film. And it's
Yeah,
kind of like
I guess
what's the
so.
dinosaur of films? Like what's the dinosaur of modern filmmaking? It's Citizen Kane, in my opinion. And
I guess that's
as
fair.
somebody that as somebody that loves cinema, I love going back and seeing who laid the foundation and like how did the foundation grow to where it is now.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I love it. And I didn't want to tell you any of that going into it
Right.
because I wanted you to watch it as you know, someone that didn't grow up watching movies. And now, what I'm hoping that this podcast does, at least for you, is as I'm explaining them, you kind of learn to appreciate something about it. Maybe you might go back and watch it again, knowing something else new now, and you might enjoy it more. Um, which you don't have to. You don't have to. We already recorded an episode. We don't need to record another one. Unless like later episodes you want to say you watched it again, which I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool.
You know,
But
I can understand, like, oh, it's much deeper than a sled. But
yeah,
at the same
yeah,
time, the way that the movie presents itself is should be the way the movie is taken. And if the way that the movie presents itself is figuring out what Rosebud is,
mm-hmm,
and the movie doesn't spend an ounce of time explaining what it is,
mm-hmm,
and then just at the end, in the last minute before the credits, you see it burn and burn away. To me, it just doesn't sit right. I just don't like it. I would have much rather this, if they didn't have to involve anything about Rosebud, I would have said that this movie is like basically perfect. But the fact that they had
okay,
to always come back after every time they were telling, after the end of every single story that they told about
right,
Citizen Kane, all the guy that
mm-hmm,
all the guys that Tommy interviewed, at the end of each one, he was like, "So nothing about Rosebud." So there was a constant reminder: Rosebud, Rosebud, Rosebud,
yep,
Rosebud.
yep.
Carefully spaced out the movie to remind you, hey, there's still
I think
this
it's
thing Rosebud. So
right.
it's like, it's just like, it's not like a, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't
No,
like it.
no. I I have to, at least with the constant reminder. I think at the end of it, you're supposed to be like the guy that interviewed all these people,
Mm-hmm.
of like, I don't care about Rosebud. This guy is more interesting than Rosebud could have ever been, right? And then you
Yeah,
figure out what
yeah,
Rosebud is. When you figure out what Rosebud represents, you're like, oh, it's equally as interesting as who Citizen Kane is as a person, is where he came from and why Rosebud is so important to him, despite like growing so far away from that. It's like that's still what he's
sure.
holding on to. The whole time, this all these stories you're hearing, this whole time, all he's thinking about is I wish I was as happy as I was when I was with Rosebud. And that's beautifully poetic to me. That's beautifully poetic.
Yeah, I mean, like, I see that angle.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that angle. I just, but you have, if you have to go further than the
Mm-hmm.
movie to explain the movie, it's a little
I think you're missing out on a lot with that mindset.
okay.
And I want you to know this. As a friend, I want you to know you're missing out on a lot while just reading surface in
I don't
between,
think I'm
like
reading
underneath the
surface
surface.
though. I'm trying to take in as much as this movie can give me,
Right.
and for it to be, for the movie to be poetic and have to have an underlying understanding of it is a little hard to justify, cuz like it's just a movie is supposed to convey a message, whatever the message is supposed to be. Like if it's a, like Training Day, the Training Day movie, like the
hmm
movie is, the message is, it's a like a new kid cop that got involved with a corrupt cop and eventually took that
How
corrupt
does
cop
that
down.
relationship work
Yeah, and
out? How does that
how does it
relationship
work?
work?
And like it shows you all the way through
hmm
that character development in that story. Whereas
Right.
Citizen Kane, it's showing you, and it tells you,
hmm
we're going to go find out what Rosebud is at the beginning of the movie. or like 20 minutes in roughly, because it has that whole cut of like that news report for the people talking about
Right.
Citizen Kane.
Right.
So for that first
Hmm.
5-10 minutes, it talks about that, and then it goes, and then they are reviewing the cut, and they change it. Like, you know what, we're gonna go find out what Rosebud is, because clearly it's his dying last words. It has to be important. That's what
Has to be
that's
important.
the angle that they're presenting to us.
Hmm.
That's the message that they showed us. All right, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna go find out, and now you are coming along as a viewer with us to go figure out what this is about. And then
Right.
an hour and a half, 2 hours later, you don't find out, which is fine. But then at the end, like at the end, you definitely see who Citizen Kane was, how he grew to power,
Yeah.
how he lost it, and everything else in between that. And I think that
Hmm.
it does a really good job at it. I'm not discrediting anything that this movie does. Like,
I'm not saying you are either.
cinematography wise, storytelling of the characters, not the storytelling of what Rosebud is, because I don't care about that. Um, the cinematography, the character developments, the the supporting actors, the freaking transitions and the quick shifts in like the scenes, like in the beginning, like it would change like
Oh, how it cuts is
it's cool. It's really
unreal.
cool for what the time of it was. Like, it really is cool. But the way it presents itself is who's Rosebud, or what is Rosebud and why Rosebud, and then you end off
Hmm.
still asking the same question. Like, why was he so sentimental of this? Why,
Right.
like, well, now you're not
Yeah.
asking who, you're asking what and why. Like, why was this
Hmm.
so important? You're still asking that same question at the end of the movie. Why is it so
Right.
important? And for I understand, like, some movies just end off that way on a question and up to self
Right.
interpretation, and that's fine. That's fine.
And that's what I think Citizen Kane is up to. Is up to interpretation.
Yeah,
That's how I've interpreted it, as it's more than just a sled. It's his childhood that he's really referring to. Because when I was little, I went to Georgia a lot to see my grandparents, and then we had a
oh yeah,
hill
you
there
told
that
me
we
about
would
that.
sled on. We had a hill there that we would sled on, and our
Right.
I kind of related to, like, that was my childhood in a way of like sledding. But I'm not gonna on my deathbed say like, oh, the red sled, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely gonna be on my mind of like, oh, I miss like the simpler times like that. And it might boil down to just like the mountains, something
Sure.
simple like that.
Sure.
That might mean something. That's how I equated it, was just um a man that has gained so much but yet has so little to really be happy. Be
Yeah,
as happy as he was when he was younger.
and it does a great job of telling that story of a
And it
man
almost seems like a
that
cry. It
rose
almost seems
and
like a
fell.
cry for help. It almost seems like a cry for help. I failed. I could have been happier and I wasn't. You know, like, let me call on the one thing that made me happy from the beginning, which was my sled, Rosebud. You know,
Yeah.
and
I
something like
mean,
that. And again, it's up for interpretation. You can interpret it any way you want to, and that's
yeah.
what's beautiful about Citizen Kane. Is that, like, no matter what, like, there's always something that you could look at and be like, you know what, I can't hate on that.
Yeah,
But
you explaining like it's bigger than a sled, it's like a representation of XYZ. That's like
mhm,
that's fine with me. Like, if that's your angle, then that's your angle, and I see it.
yeah,
Like, it
hmm,
that makes sense.
right,
But the movie does not convey that at all. Not an ounce of that is conveyed.
because it's supposed to be up to you to
Yes,
figure it out.
and
That's the whole point.
that's fine. But it's just like I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. But it's just
I
like
get it. I get it. I
it's
get it.
Just not
It's not.
not
It's not a movie for everybody, for sure. It's
yeah.
not a movie that everyone's gonna love.
Mhm.
But I think it's one of the greatest movies of all times. And I think something. And I brought this up as we were. I was writing down notes on this,
Yeah.
and while we were waiting to do this, and I put down a lot of the like fun facts I learned about it. And one of the
Yes.
big ones
Hit me.
was at the Oscars, it won 11 of the 13 Academy nominations for
Oh
Oscars,
my
including
gosh.
I'm gonna list all of them. Just
Please, I
I
want to
think
know.
every single one you could, I can pick an exact moment where each of these shines in the film.
Gotcha.
Best picture, best actor, best director, best original screenplay, best sound, best editing, best music, best cinematography, and best direction.
I mean, you don't need to tell
Best
me
art direction, best art direction.
art direction. I mean, you don't need to explain to me which scenes. I could probably tell you. Like,
Exactly, and I think
it
that's
does a good
just
job.
speaks more to how revolutionary this film is.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I do
Yeah.
think that like it shines in its in
Mhm.
what it is and for what it was at that
I
time.
mean, it's the infancy for what modern filmmaking is. So it's obviously not going to stand up
Yeah.
as well as like other films will, but it's definitely standing the test of time
Yeah, no, it's trust me,
without a doubt.
it stands against a lot of films that
I
come
mean,
out.
and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think past like 1950 or before 1950, I don't think any film has stood the test of time quite as well as Citizen Kane. You could
Um,
say Wizard of Oz. You could say Wizard of Oz as one,
I probably would
and
say, yeah.
this brings me to something that I just remembered that I don't know if you remember we talked about. It's
Oh God.
something that I apply to almost every film that I watch because it's fun to do, and it's fun to do.
Okay.
But I heard a theory a long time ago that every film since like 1941 has been either trying to be a Citizen Kane or a Wizard of Oz. Either the and let me explain. Let me explain. You could put any film and say, is it trying to be a like fantasy like epic type movie? Like is it trying to be out of this world unbelievable? Or is it trying to be grounded in realism and try to be something like that?
Mm,
I think almost every film you could pick. And
almost
just going through what
every.
all right, The Cabin in the Woods is Wizard of Oz. It's a
What?
out of this world type film. There's demigods. There's that
But that's
completely
not what
unbelievable.
Wizard of Oz is. Okay. We're gonna
In
have to have a
essence.
whole episode of on a debate about this because
Training Day is Citizen Kane. Training Day and A Few Good Men are both Citizen Kane. Both grounded in
but they're not
realism.
trying to emulate that. They're trying to emulate a depiction of a hard government lawyer case that has nothing to do with Citizen Kane. The only
Okay.
correlation is politics, is because Citizen Kane went into politics. That is the
You're
only
you're
sense of
looking you're
correlation.
looking you're looking too much in the detail. I'm saying that um there were no films quite like Wizard of Oz or Citizen Kane when they came out.
Right?
And every film past them has been inspired in one way or another by Wizard of Oz. Whether it was a film that they watched as a kid that might have been inspired by Wizard of Oz or Citizen Kane, or a
Okay.
film that they watched that some other guy watched that was inspired by Wizard of Oz or Citizen Kane to make.
I
It's like
don't.
it's passed down,
You could apply that logic
and
with literally
you're
like
looking to
any form of creative outlet. Like
no, and you
everything
can
is a
do this
predecessor of what it was before. Like
100%.
nothing is 100% original. Like everything
Yeah.
has an inspiration. If you look at it from that
Hmm.
angle, yes, that makes sense. But to say,
Yeah, and that is what I'm looking at it from. That
okay,
is what
but
I'm looking
yeah,
at it
like
from.
I interpreted it
And
as
that's not to restrict um creativity in cinema. You can do whatever you
no, no, no,
want
no, no. But like
in it.
nothing is
I'm just
100%
saying
original. Like
I'm just
something
saying
gets
even
inspired
if it's
from
one
something.
even if it's one anchor, there's going to be some anchor that holds you um feel like, "Oh, like this is definitely a Wizard of Oz or Citizen Kane type movie. And again, this is
No,
something too.
I
I
don't
learned that.
think
I learned
so.
this.
I
All
don't
right, all
think
right.
to. I don't think I could look at us. I don't think I could look at any comic book movie and go, they were trying. They're going off of the
There Wizard of Oz.
knowledge from Citizen Kane and Wizard of Oz.
No, it's Wizard of Oz. No, it's. I think every Marvel movie is a Wizard of Oz type film.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
in my opinion, it's a fun thing to
No,
play,
it's.
and you don't have to agree. I didn't say you had to agree with me. I didn't say you had to agree with
Okay.
me.
Okay. Okay. But Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane. Like I mentioned it really quickly, but
Mhm.
if they just took out Rosebud,
Rosebud,
it would have been a
and I
perfect
think,
movie.
and here's something. I think the reason it is the perfect film is because Rosebud is in it.
Why? I want to
Yeah,
know.
I think
Why?
I think it ties the bow really well, to explain, because you kind of get the character of Cain
Mm-hmm.
from every point but the foundation. Like every like level. If there's if there's if there's like different tiers, like you get every single level of Cain until you get to Rosebud. That laid the foundation for the rest of those to happen.
But it didn't lay the foundation because
Yeah, it did. Yeah, yes, it did.
the
It's
only you spend.
what is he trying to do the whole film? Is be as happy as he was when he was with his sled.
But the movie doesn't convey that.
But
The movie
you
conveys
don't
it
know
as
because you're not
he's
supposed to know
always
it.
trying to get more.
Right.
He's always trying to
Right.
get that
Right.
next step.
Right. Because he thinks that's what's gonna bring him the happiness that Rosebud
But the
did.
movie never
But
says that.
you're not supposed to know it until the end, and then you can watch it again, knowing that that's what he's trying
If
to
I have to watch a
accomplish.
movie again to understand it, that's a dumb movie. You're telling me I have to watch a movie twice through
You're making this
in
tough,
order
dude. You're
to
making this.
to understand it.
There's certain films that demand to be seen a couple times.
What? No, I don't
Yeah.
think any movie
Couple times,
demands to be
yeah.
a couple times. That's in the eye of the beholder. That is 100% in the eye of the beholder.
All right, I think I'll change your mind by the end of this. I think I'm 100%. There's a couple films that are definitely gonna be like, oh, I have to watch this again to understand what's going on.
I don't think so.
Like now that I've seen how it ends, I need to watch again, knowing how it's gonna end.
What?
And Citizen Kane was one of them,
Okay. All right.
dude. So before I lose my mind, how are we ranking this? We still haven't figured out how
Nope.
to put it on live,
Not figured it out.
but it will be on the screen. You will see it. We'll get that all figured out. But
What would you put this
how
Citizen
are you?
Kane as? Before I break
Oh, you
it.
want me to go first?
Before
Yeah,
I
okay.
rank it, what do you rank it?
Um, I think Citizen Kane is one of the most important films ever made. I think it's, and I've beaten it like a dead horse. It is like the first true modern film. It is the film that every film after tried to emulate in some way, to be as revolutionary as Citizen Kane in one way or another, trying to rewrite what was acceptable to be in a film or not. I think that's what Citizen Kane kind of starts.
Okay.
I'm gonna put this as a tier film.
You gave it all that hype
It's
and not an S?
hmm.
You gave it all that and
Oh,
not
is
an
there an
S?
S?
Yes, there's an S.
I didn't know there was an S.
Oh,
This is definitely an S.
guys, he's new to this
I
podcast,
did.
actually. Welcome, my
I did.
new co-host,
I,
Boston
s-
Whitman.
I saw the graphic one time. I saw the graphic one time. I saw it once, and I saw A at the top.
Okay, well,
I saw A.
there's
I swear to
S
God,
through
there was A at
F.
the top.
S through F.
Okay, well, this is S tier. This is an S tier movie.
Okay. B.
This is B. Okay,
B.
I was a lot higher than I thought. I thought you were gonna go C for sure.
No, because, like, it only has one. The one caveat is if it is Rosebud, and it's a huge caveat for me. That's why it's not A, because I can
Right,
can
right.
give it respect for literally everything else except
I would love to-
Rosebud. But the problem is
That's-
Rosebud is such a giant piece of this movie
I'm
that
bringing
does
this up
not
a small
get
group.
given. Huh?
I'm bringing this up a small group that
You
you don't want to
should.
watch it
You
a second time.
should.
That you don't want to watch. That you don't want to watch Citizen Kane a second time.
I don't need to. I know everything I need to know about it.
Because I told you.
The fact that you have to tell me should say something.
After I watched it the second time, that's when I learned this stuff. That's you have to. I don't know. We're gonna be talking all night. We're gonna be talking all night if we keep arguing about it.
We could, and we probably will after we're done. After we cut.
We got movies to pick after that, thank you guys so much for watching.
Yes, I think this is probably our best episode yet. This is probably our best
100%.
episode yet.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Um, I don't know about you. I'm having a great time filming it.
Yes, I am. I
hope that
really
you
am.
guys. I hope you guys are having a blast listening to it.
Please have a blast so that we can keep doing this.
However way you're listening to it.
Yes.
We still haven't figured out what platforms it's going to be on.
No idea.
But whenever we do, we're going to ask you to like, subscribe, whatever you got to do.
Whatever platform you're on,
we really appreciate it.
Get us on there. Start following us in some way.
And let us know. Let us know what you think about Citizen Kane.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you guys. Any new movies that you think me or Josh should watch, or you think we should watch?
But if I have seen it, you get banned.
You are banned.
Mm-hmm.
But that is all I have. Josh, would you like to add anything?
I'm all good, brother. I'm all good. I'm
all good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's gonna be it for us, guys. Have fun. Have a good week. And be safe, y'all.
Goodbye.
Peace out. And goodbye.